All right. Starting again. Let's see. Okay, my mic's actually on. The game is on. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to part 12. What part is this? 12? I think of Higurashi, When They Cry, Tatarigoroshi, which is chapter 3. All right, so let's see. Where did we leave off last time? Where did we leave off? We left off on... It was Oishi discovered Keiichi trying to dig up the body because he was like, okay, I killed someone, but the uncle's still at his house, harassing and, being terrible to Satoko. Who did I kill? Like the idea of maybe you killed the wrong person was put in the air. And Keiichi was like, well, if I killed someone who I wasn't supposed to, I gotta make sure. And he was going to go dig up the body, and Oishi found them because he was creeping, I think. I don't know. Maybe he was already following him the whole time. But yeah, basically what that right there says, right there. So yeah, it is chapter 12, so end of chapter 11. The body wasn't there, yeah. And we're sort of getting like these like supernatural sci-fi I don't know, like cosmic horror maybe. I don't even know what to call it, but like essentially like things that happen in a different, what the hell. So I don't know if it's like the events of the first Watanagashi from the first game, because what they described that happened during Watanagashi with Keiichi sounds like what happened in the first game. Except this time, it's Keiichi wasn't there to experience it, but everyone else experienced that. So I don't know what's going on there. Other than that, I don't know if I was like disappointed necessarily, but I kind of figured that this part was a little more grounded and a little more real. But it seems that it's going much more supernatural, like weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely not grounded anymore. It's definitely going into the sort of like more surreal, more like trippy, I guess. I don't know what else to describe it, like horror type maybe thing. Would I prefer that over like a more grounded exploration of like how kids deal with like very bad situation and their only resolve is to simply just very harsh, simple solutions when that's not how the world works, essentially. I thought that was more interesting so far, but who knows? Maybe I might like this even more. Seeing like this other element thrown in the middle of this. I don't know if this is taking away. I think the only reason why I was hesitant and a little disheartened, I guess, by this sort of shift into the more supernatural element is because I thought everything in regards to Satoko was actually done really well. Like the way she was portrayed, her complex emotions about the situation. I thought all of that was done really well. And I think a part of me wanted it to stay grounded and more realistic, I guess. Like even this whole Keiichi killing the uncle thing, even that I was like super into because it felt like there was going to be a real consequence to this just unreasonable sense of just like moral justice that he's trying to get with like, there's a lot of elements to this very, like this crime that he's about to commit for the sake of someone else and whether or not that's good or bad, like definitely a lot of interesting things going on there. But overall, I'll see where this goes. But yeah, the body wasn't there. That was pretty much the last thing. They dug up the body, or she forced him. He was being kind of a turbo jerk. There was no body in the hole. And we don't know what happened. So let's go. So I'm probably going to be going on for maybe like an hour and a half or so, maybe bare minimum 2 hours, depending how the chapter feels. because last chapter it was literally like 2 hours and like 2.5 hours essentially, and I don't think I can do that just by reading the whole time. I don't think I can do that. So I'm gonna see what I can sort of bare minimum do. I guess I don't know how to describe it. Like, see, maybe an hour and a half in, if it feels like the chapter's just gonna keep going, then I might just cut it off and then we'll continue next time, or I'll try to finish this chapter. But yeah, let's go. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko had said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter the strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon. And this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if the price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Satoko's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again until Satoko was liberated. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning, at just about 5. It was already light outside. Once I hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'd do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. And as I got dressed, I let my mind wander and had a strange thought. These 2 days, while I said it was for Satoko's sake, the only thing on my mind has been killing. I said it was for Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Satoko, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I'd sunken into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Satoko, become a demon, then disappear from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that after all was said and done, I'd met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistake, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he would be here somewhere. Then, surprised, I stopped walking. There was a second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing.
ひょっとして、サトシなのか?
The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer, but I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi. Once more. This time, we will set Satoko free for sure. I quietly slipped out of my house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they caught me now, when I've been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes and then take them with me so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time, I'd set her free. Outside, the morning sunlight was beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I shown up at this festival and had fun, even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrest me, I'd probably end up right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and the other Keiichi Maibara. Even without me, he filled in. He'd fill in. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiichi Maibara would remain. After all, this Keiichi as in quotations, as in this other hypothetical Keiichi. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed, mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough.
これは怖いな。こいつにするか。
It was a hatchet, meant for chopping thick firewood. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it in some old newspaper and tossed it into the basket on my bike.
現実、悪い用事に使ってばかりで悪いな。今日も頼むぜ。俺の足。
I apologized to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I only used it for dangerous things. I've been riding this bike ever since I lived in my old town. I can walk most places I wanted to go, so I hadn't used it all that much. My mom had brought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station, since it was far away. So I'd always use it to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket too. I never tried to put my hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in here. When I came to Hinamizawa, life felt fun. Life felt fun. Oh, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever, and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay, but still, the times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I'd chosen for myself. I thought back to when I first came to Hinamizawa. Oh wow, we're actually getting a full flashback. About how the very first day, Satoko had welcomed me via the backboard eraser with a rock in it. The welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike among us, but she actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's business. That went for Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Satoko would try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Satoko would cry, which would put Rena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I was slightly going to cram school every day just to maintain an unchanging test score. So basically, there was nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back.
ナイトなら武器は剣だろ。
White Knight ass Keiichi. Knight, of course, using
ツーハン
swords.
デッドのかっこいいやつ。
The awesome two-handed sign.
錆びた肉厚のナタで挑むナイトは、多分古今東西俺一人だな。
Then I saw an old person in the ridge of a field waving to me.
おやケイチ君かい
You old man, know me, old
朝の
man?
サイクリングかいね
おはようございます。
I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? Satako's house would be right past this road, going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up too. The next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath, then tilted my head back, wailing my pointless excitement. My body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or I'd kill him and he'd risen from the dead. It was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it's been an illusion, not just impossible. But it being an illusion was just impossible, sorry. I killed him, without a doubt. Without a doubt. If it had been an illusion, then I would make all of this Hinamizawa right now an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in the hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with my friends in a rice paddy like this. That was the terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less than a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I even wielded curses. Takano-san had died probably because I cursed her. Right. He still believes that he was kind of responsible for Takano-san, even though it could have just been a freak incident, or let's say Oyashiro's curse, or Oyashiro's curse being the villagers, then they just killed her. Or maybe that was a little much. If Coach and Oyashi died too, I'd cursed them to yesterday, then I'd believe it. Watch him actually be dead. So he's literally just coming over here to kill her uncle. No plan, just walk in, kill him, walk out. Is that really what's gonna happen? I sat my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't there here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down the hill that night, throwing it into the Onigafuchi swamp. Throwing it into the Onigafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse was here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. Whoops, did I, or maybe just like how the corpse was here, wasn't here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. Okay. The fact his bike wasn't here might have been because he had gone to town and hadn't come back. Not necessarily because I had thrown it into the swamp. Let's see. Oh, if her uncle wasn't around, then it was convenient on its own. Then I would just show myself in, then wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was here, if he was there, forgetting sensations come back to my gut. Forgotten sensation come back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison during an action, but it could have been the trigger to allow me to awaken to my superhuman otherworldly self. Oh, great. This kid has now like multiple personalities trying to keep at bay. I held the hatchet, still wrapping. Still wrapped in newspapers. A weight in my hand as hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably a little before 7. Satoko would probably be awake, preparing the breakfast and her lunch. But her uncle would probably still be lazing around in bed. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Satoko open the door for me, but if her uncle woken up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him still being asleep. If Satoko saw me sneaking inside without ringing the bell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I'd come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. Fuck it, just do it. This shit's honestly insane already. That would be like making Satoko responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it too. Maybe that would do it. How would Satoko react to that? She would probably try to get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Satoko didn't need to know that murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie and tell her I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grappling the doorknob. Is it actually going inside? Then slowly turned it. Hey, brother, that's illegal. That's an invasion of privacy. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall seemingly grew larger. The change wasn't even on. Whoops. Wait, what the fuck happened? Oh, whoops. Wait, fuck. Shit. I accidentally... I dropped something on my keyboard, fuck. What was it? Yeah, there we go. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. The entrance, there were a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them. I couldn't hear a television on somewhere. The television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving the impression decidedly different from the happy family meal times. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it. Meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming? Ew. And be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight, that I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping the hatchet thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it, then very carefully took a look around. Where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, then went down the hallway and found the stairs to the second floor. When the man was playing with his friends, he looked out of the second-story window. It's highly possible that room was his own and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edge of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms slowly and quietly, opening the paper doors, checking inside. But I still couldn't find anyone around. Paper doors, so it was like tatami, essentially. Like, no, not like the sliding doors. It was like the sliding doors. This must be like a very traditional style house. Anyone around? To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps, of boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I slightly descended the stairs and went back into the dining room. Whoa, I looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice. An overturned bowl of miso soup. The package for the side dishes bought for the supermarket. I could tell Satoko had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house and from the type of and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The number stamped into the food package read, wait, hold on. The number stamped into the food package read 830620, June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday, and there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner, and Satoko's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiichi Maibara. Oh well, stop it, Keiichi. Oh, he actually didn't say Keiichi Maibara. I got used to him just saying his full fucking name all the time, pretty much. Okay, yeah, I forgot. I was just checking. I thought it said, I thought I wasn't streaming, but no, I'm good. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found the fault with Satoko's food, thrown the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within the feeling of calm and composure was lit a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. What was that? I heard that sound again. The one from before, like a water boiler. What was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into a changing room where I was standing too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take baths this early in the morning. If one did, then it would mean that this house time had stopped ever since some moment last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time? I checked in the clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains of dried rice stuck into it, certainly not something that she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then an electric surge ran through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she possibly have been in there since last night? That would be impossible. But no! In Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible. I gulped audibly, then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot steam air burst out of the slightly opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with steam. Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air also flowed into the room with the bath. And I just heard, due to being hit by the air, a very weak moan. That was all I needed. That was all I needed to know who it was.
Satoko!
No answer. Satoko was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of raising steam. The top of her body was leaning over the edge of the bathtub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making the whistle noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame through the small window. It was roaring at the full force, completely blue. Satoko's entire body was boiling red and flaccid as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll, and as she laid there unconscious, I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler. Then I dragged Satoko's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Was she in the boiling water for an entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Satoko's body was lighter than I expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back into the bathroom and opened the vent, creating a path for the cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Satoko moaned again.
Satoko! 俺だ! Cage だ! わかるか? 聞こえるか?
Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes was muddy and unfocused. I could tell she was completely unconscious. Upon closer inspections, her limbs and wrists were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what would the teachers do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in the gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked the towel in it. And then I took a cold towel and pressed it on Satoko's forehead. Satoko reacted harshly to the coolness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right? You would soak the burn spot under running water. Then could I run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No. If it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart, and she'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur.
大丈夫か, Satoko? もう大丈夫だからな. 必ず俺がニーが助けてやるからな.
5039
5039?
5040
Nani? What was Satoko reciting under her breath? I brought my ears to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment, I understood what they were for.
Satoko, お前数を数えてるのか? なんで?
People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Satoko was counting like that. But 5039?
バカ野郎！お前の家の風呂はいくつ数える決まりになってんだよ。
I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000?
ふざけるなバカ野郎！1万なんて数えられるバカがどこにいるんだよ。数えられるわけねえだろ。その前に湯だって死んじまうに決まってんだろ。どうしてこんなことに。バカ。
Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at dinner she made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of a pickled vegetable she bought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stick was originating from Satoko and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. And then he put Satoko in the boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. Holy shit. I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper wrapped hatchet, I stamped through the house. I searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. This was a war cry. I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found a futon in this room. I thought it'd be her uncle, and well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I busted the entire closet down, door and all. And if he was not here, then maybe there's a secret door? Any switches? Levers in the walls here? I smashed into the wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose into the air and broke pieces scattering on the floor. I smashed the glass window too, for good measure. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house, right? Right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Satoko. I went back to the changing room. Satoko was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in the mental hospital. I never wanted to see that damn face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have the doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in a dirty uniform lying on the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. Shit, I don't have time to waste here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in a bath towel. The clinic was close to Satoko's house. It would be way faster to carry her there than call 119 and get an ambulance. I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand.
立てるか。俺が診療所までおぶって行ってやるから。
ありがとう。ですわ。
Her words sounded clearer than ever before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Satoko turned over so she was lying on her face, and then put on a weak struggle to get up on her knees. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off.
すぐ着くから。しばらくの間だけ我慢してろ。
It didn't hurt one bit to carry Satoko. She was light, too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it had gotten hotter, as though eager to attack Satoko. Fucking cicadas, why did it have to choose this morning to get so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. Okay. So this one actually does have an intermission. The previous chapter was pretty much just one long ass chapter. The hilly road to the clinic, with which I had never had difficulty before, was now torturous. Oh god, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Woo! Okay. Sorry. Was now torturous. Big beads of sweat formed on my brow, and at some point, my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. I'd considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go. At least not while Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Irie clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolting lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. There didn't seem to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I had planned to leave Satsuko in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with the police officers Oishi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly.
なんですの？パトカーがいっぱいいますですわよ。
In the shade of the thicket. Oh, I didn't even read it. Fuck. I was just kind of like entranced. I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the thicket. I don't know.
様子を見てくるからしばらくここにいろ。
レディをバスタオル1枚でこんなとこに置いてくなんて。
それだけ悪態がつけりゃ大丈夫だ。
I'll be right back. I added getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind the car and got closer to the officer. Grouped at the clinic entrance. Sorry. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It was one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday.
つまり最初に見つけたのは朝当番のあなただったと。それでどんな感じだったんです？
事務室の所長席のソファーに座って居眠りをしているように見えました。
で、机の上に水差しと空き瓶になった睡眠薬があったんで、あなたはすぐに睡眠薬で自殺したんだと考えたと。それで？
高熱と瞳孔の拡大に重度の意識障害も見られました。睡眠薬中毒の典型的な重症例だと思いましたので、直ちに対応に入り。
警察も救急も呼ばずに？
ここは病院で私は医師ですよ。生命が危険な状態にあるなら、直ちに治療して当然です。
ああ、まあいいからいいから。それで？
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean we didn't call the police? And what do you say, ambulance? Bro, we're in a hospital. Well, a clinic, you know.
呼吸が不正常だったので、人工呼吸を施しました。合わせて呼吸刺激薬を投与。効果が出なかったので、人工呼吸器の準備をし。
ああ、はいはい。それでつまり、いろいろ頑張ったけど、結局ダメだ。そういうわけですよね。通報は死んでから直ちに？
はい。救うことができず、とても残念です。
Just then, a radio in one of the police cars started buzzing, producing a broken mechanical voice.
こちら本部、こちら本部。小宮山さん、聞こえますか？どうぞ。
もしもし、小宮山です。ああ、お疲れ様です。睡眠薬での自殺みたいですね。遺書の類はなし。
Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Was it the uncle? Or was it a Coach? Someone had committed suicide at the clinic. Then it was probably Coach. But who? I wish Takono-san dead, and she died the next day. And yesterday I wish Coach was dead. Then Coach he have.
普段から睡眠薬を常用していたとかは？
あまり知りません。
日頃 疲れたとか死にたいとか、そんなこと言ってました？
入江先生は普段からああいう性格でしたから、とてもそんな風には。
So I was right. Irie sensei. They were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself? Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they died. That was the kind of world this was. Then, what about Ooshi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him too.
そちらに応援が向かいました。課長からそちらは応援に任せて大石社の捜索に戻るとのことです。
了解しました。じゃあすいません。
Was that the car that, like, no, it said Oyoshi, like, in one of the notes last time, it was like, we need you to find this license plate car thing. But I think it was Oyoshi himself who made the call for the license plate. I think he was the one who called in and said, I need the
こっち
information
に今
about
応
this.
援が来てるそうですから、現場はこのままにしておいてください。
But they did try to reply to him and say, like, hey, we found it. And then it was like, Oyoshi, are you picking up? Are you there? I did remember. Okay, that did happen. Yes, sir. Please excuse me. Then it looks like we're getting relieved here. So please leave everything as it is right
おい、
now.
行くぞ。
The officer nodded and split up into patrol cars. Did they just say searching for Yoshi's car? Searching for his car. That meant he had gone missing? Takano-san, Coach, and Oyoshi? When I wished for it, the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wished someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curse so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't even been walking, and yet, tap, I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap, tap. They came from behind, and they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder.
一体何事なんですの？
さとこか、脅かすなよ。
驚いたのはこっちでしたよ。いきなり大声を出さないでくださいまし。
It was Satoko. Her eyes were still unstable, unfocused, but she seemed able to at least walk on her own. She looked far better now compared to the earlier exhaustion
具合
state.
はどうなんだ？もう大丈夫なのか？
まだ頭が痛いですけど、いつまでもこんな格好で表にいられませんもの。
She gave a smile, a show courage, but her legs were still shaky.
それより、これは一体何事なんですの？今、警察が話してるのを聞いてた限りじゃ。
監督が自殺したらしい。
え？
Satoko was at a loss for words. Her face grew pale and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears.
ケイチさん、それ、本当ですの？何かの聞き間違いじゃないんですの？
確かにそう聞いたよ。入江先生が睡眠薬で自殺したって。
Satoko went down on her knees and broke out into tears.
嘘ですわ。監督が自殺なんて、そんなの絶対に。
Dan, Keiichi's like really dumb. It's like, okay, you just straight up tell her that, like, she's okay. Even if you do tell her that, maybe not now. Maybe a little bit later you can tell her when she's feeling a little better. I watched Satoko crying, crawling at the grass. I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he'd betrayed me, that I thought he was better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, still must have had people who loved and respected him. Like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death and it was granted. And now Satoko was crying, hysterically as a result. The guilt tore in my heart. I worked myself up to murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I wanted Satoko to be happy, but was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making someone attached to the person sad. In Satoko's uncle's case, of course, no one would be sad. So I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I wanted to make Satoko happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Satoko still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wringing out her tears, she stood up.
すまない。
The only thing I could think of to say was an apology.
どうして謝りますの？
俺、昨日、監督と、お前なんか、死んじまえって呪ったんだ。呪ったから、本当に死んじゃって。
Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually her expression softened. She was interpreting my words in her own way.
圭一さんのせいではありませんわ。監督も大人ですもの。自分の命を捨てるに値する都合があって悩んだ末に選んだんですもの。誰のせいでもありませんわ。
She smiled a little, trying to comfort me.
いつまでもこのままでいたくありませんわ。服が欲しい。
いいのかよ。診療所に行って見てもらった方が。
服を着てから見てもらっても別に死にはしませんわ。
Satoko readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly and it didn't look like she recovered as much as she let on. At first, Satoko tried to get back home, but it was the time of the morning when people were going to school and to work. So after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must be pretty embarrassed wearing only a towel.
理科のうちに行きますわよ。私の服、どうしたんですの？圭一さん。
Satoko noticed how I had hanged my head and spoke to me.
監督はああ見えても大人ですのよ。圭一さんと喧嘩したくらいで自殺するような人ではありませんわ。自分を責めるのをおやしなさいませ。
At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world.
この数日、おかしいんだ。
何がですの？
Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had
お
to
ととい
say.
の綿流しのお祭り。お前は途中で帰ったから行かなかったんだよな。そして、俺は祭りに行って、みんなと遊んだ。
らしいですわね。あの時は取り乱して申し訳ありませんでしたわね。
Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little.
実は俺、祭りに行っていないって言ったら、信じるか？
Satoko looked at me confused. She couldn't help it, of course.
信じられるわけありませんわ。何を今さら。
信じられないだろ。信じられないのは。だって、俺は祭りに行っていないのに、俺が祭りに現れて、こんなの信じられるわけないだろ。
それ、本気ですの？
ああ、綿流しの夜から、おかしいんだ。いつの間にか、変な足音が、ペタペタとついてくるようになって。
The blood drained from Satoko's expression.
足音が、ペタペタ。
そうなんだ。最初は気のせいだと思ってたけど、多分今もついてきてる。里子の足音と混じって、よく聞き分けられないけれど。
Satoko took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he, after telling me this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless.
綿流しの日、俺は祭りに行かず、あることをしていたんだ。ずっとだぞ。眠ったり、意識がなくなったりしたことはな、だから寝ぼけ気分でフラフラと、記憶になく祭りに出かけたなんてことはありえない。
それはおかしいですわね。なら、どうやってお祭りで遊んだんですの？
だから、俺は祭りには行ってないんだよ。
No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that'd be like proving that there's something wrong with my head.
ごめん。みんなが信じてくれないんで、つい。
圭一さんがそう言うなら、信じてあげますわ。それで？
あの夜、高野さんに会ったんだ。それで、見下されたと思って、俺は、心の中で念じたんだ。お前なんか死んじまえって。
高野さんって、どことなくそういう雰囲気がございますものね。その気持ち、わからなくもありませんでしたよ。
高野さんが死んだの、知ってるか？昨日の話だ。どこかで焼け死んだらしい。
それ、本当ですの？死んだんですの？
俺が、死ねと願うと。それから、警察の大石ってやつも、知ってるか？ムカつく、太った、刑事みたいなやつ。
Satsuko nodded a little.
さっき、警察が話してるのを聞いたんだが、どうもあいつ、実は昨日、あいつにも、死んじまえって念じてたんだ。
それ、本当の話ですの？
嘘じゃない。俺だって信じたくないけど、本当の話なんだ。高野さんも監督も大石も、俺が死ねと念じたら、本当に死んでしまったんだ。
For a little while, Satsuko was at a loss. A long silence ensued.
それは怖い話ですわね。圭一さんに、せめて嫌われないように気をつけませんと。
それだけじゃない。もっと、おかしいこともあるんだ。それは、お前の、おじなんだ。
おじさまの話はやめてくださいましな。
昨日、いたんだろ。お前の家に。
あの人の話はやめてくださいます。嫌なんですの。
ありえないんだ。あいつが、いるわけがないんだ。
やめてって言ってますのよ。
あの男が綿流しの夜以降、いるわけがないんだ。だって、
あの男のことはもう嫌なんです
の。俺が殺したんだ。この手で。
Even the cicada stopped crying. Her face was streaking with tears, and it stiffened even more as she looked at me in
俺
disbelief.
が、綿流しの祭りの夜に、だから、お前の家に帰ってくるなんてことは、ありえないんだ。
But still, he went back. Sorry, I know I should probably let you guys like read the actual pieces of dialogue like that, but I guess I just get so enraptured I just want to know what happens next. And like I'll just leave it out there for a second. So I kind of just go in. Like right now I'm really invested. I haven't really said much other than just reading the actual like story, cuz like this is getting pretty interesting. This is getting pretty good. But still, he went back, and last night he found fault in the dinner you made, yelled at all sorts of things at you, and then basically boiled you in a bathtub. That couldn't possibly have happened.
だから俺は、あの男を確かに殺したという証拠を確かめるために、だが、そこには死体はなかった。こんなことがあり得ると思うか？確かに殺したのに、死体がないんだ。そして、何事もなかったかのように帰宅して、こんなことがあっていいはずないだろう。
Satsuko's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away, like there was someone in front of her about to hurt
お
her.
前も、俺のこと、 頭が変になったって、無理もないさ。俺だって、信じられない。
圭一さんはきっと、空前呪った人が死んでしまったんで混乱してるだけに違いありませんわ。監督の自殺にショックを受けて気が動転してるだけなんですのよ。今日はもう学校を休んでお家で休んだ方がよろしいと思います。私はもう平気ですから、どうかご自分の体を大事になさいまし。
Satoko spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face, and she knew knew that she didn't want to be around me
サト
anymore.
コをちゃんと診療所まで見送ったら、俺、サトコだって、まだ足元がフラフラじゃないか。途中で倒れたら大変だぞ。
私はもう本当に大丈夫なんですのよ。男の人にいつまでもこんな姿を晒していたくないんですのよ。
Oof. Oof. Really, I'm fine now. I do not want to keep exposing myself to a man any more than this. Okay, I think I read that wrong. Okay, I thought she said I don't want to keep exposing myself to a man anymore. Like, implying that this isn't the first time. She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up and helped her stay on her feet. But then Satoko promptly jumped away from me. The outright rejection hurt a lot. When she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged, and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. Well, it was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection. And that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path I have chosen for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just too saddening. Don't be naive, Keiichi Maibara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so that Satoko would thank you. You did it so Satoko would be happy. And that was all what led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster preventing storehouse used by the town's council. If you went past it a little further, though, the shrine grounds, you'd apparently reach the back of an assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible, or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard a vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Hinamizawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage days, they'd flock to trash collecting points, peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a flew crow flocking around the shrine donation box, and thought how terrible it was for someone to leave a garbage bag in the place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Every time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. I ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There was no way I ever wished for this. Oh my god. Why do I get the feeling? I'm not gonna say it. This was not. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Then they noticed my vicious approach. The crows all flocked upwards, fleeing into the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bags. Oh my god. What had I seen there? The scream had escaped from my throat before I understood what I was looking at. What was this? Sato came over as well, realizing something had happened. And she looked over my shoulder, then she screamed as well. This wasn't the garbage bag. was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right, yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend, Satoko's best friend. Always easygoing. Clever as a cat, but so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend, Rika-chan, Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limbs sprawled. Her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And scream. I can't scream.
Rika!
Satoko broke down on the spot. And yet, she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bags and they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No, crows. They couldn't do this. On the steps, I started vomiting. The sour taste became a bitter one as I threw over again. Rika-chan, her stomach was cut wide open, vertically, completely open. Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her organs, her bowels were all out like children's toys left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Colors felt like my vision, a pondering headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like a nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone somewhere had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid her here with her lips sprawled out, and then cut open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were stinking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black, and few of the crows had hopped around inside the ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints, and those footprints, there were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Wait, they walked through, yeah, okay, like the crow's footprints. Those sinister prints made it seem even a little more like a bizarre ritual killing. I may have wished for Takano and Coach and Naoshi to die, but I don't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death.
そうさ、俺じゃない。
I stumbled backwards and stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper in a place like this? The newspaper was what was covering my hatchet. I had kept it wrapped up on my belt in order to carry Satoko. The newspaper had fallen off. Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and then Satoko looked at me with such disbelief as I ever seen and froze. She was looking straight at me and the hatchet on my belt.
落ち着け、サトコ、これは違うぞ。
Satoko, trembling madly, backed away.
俺じゃないんだ。俺じゃ。
She didn't care at all that she was exposing herself through the towel. She just trembled and tried to step back from the demon in front of her.
落ち着いてくれ。頼むから。冷静になって、サト。
Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run, unsteadily. Ran away, that is.
待ってくれ、サトコ。違うんだ。
The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. So, if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab Satoko's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. So, I had to follow her and try to clear this up.
高野さんを殺して、監督を殺して、大石さんも殺したんでございましょう。おじさまを殺そうとして、理科まで人殺し
違う、俺じゃない。俺は殺してなんかいない。
何を言ってるんですの。あなたさっき自分で言ったじゃありませんの。死ねって、死んでしまえって。それでみんな死んでしまったんでしょ。
俺は死ねって思っただけで、別に。
自分で何をしたか記憶に残っていないんでございましょう。そんな人の話なんか信用できるわけありませんわ。人を殺した時の記憶が欠落してるだけなんじゃありませんの。いや、記憶がないふりをしてるだけなんじゃありませんの。第一、そのナタは何なんですのよ。説明してごらんなさいな。
これは。
ほら、圭一さんは殺人鬼じゃありませんの。どうしてですの。ちょっと意地悪だったけど、楽しくて優しい。一度は本当のニーニーかもしれないとまで思ったのに、どうしてそんな風になってしまったんですの。
I might have been able to slowly answer each one of Satoko's questions at a time, but in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time was impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him, without a doubt. At that point, I was far from innocent, and I wish Takano-san, Coach, and Orochi-san were dead, and that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you'd say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die, and I realized that if I wanted people to die, they would. And hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Orochi to that same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach and Orochi-san were probably permeated crimes. Was I a killer, just like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish between illusion and reality and turned into a demon without remembering it, becoming a killer who carried out Oyashiro-sama's curse? No, that couldn't be. It was impossible. Ugh, damn it. The very word impossible was impossible in Hinamizawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past 3 days? Satoko had started crying again, and she walked unsteadily. At first it felt like she was still running, but now it was like she was walking away crying from someone bullying her.
どうしてこんなことになってしまったんです。どうして
If there was an answer to that, then I wanted to know too. Why? Why had it turned out like
ニー
this?
ニーがいなくなってずっと寂しかったけど、圭一さんが転校してきてくれて、またみんな明るくなって楽しくなって、毎日が光ってたのに。
She was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that, Satoko and I shouted the exact same
どう
things.
してこんなことに。
The cicadas were searing at the spectacle at our strange game of tag. And shut up. Ah, shut up. Eventually I heard a murmuring of a stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall off at any moment. And when I stopped onto the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Satoko to stagger and fall on the
大
spot.
丈夫か、サトコ。
近寄らないで。この人殺し。
Satoko shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then this warmth flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure.
どうしてこうなってしまったんですの。圭一さんのこと大好きだったのに。
I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Satoko would start shouting again and say things that would hurt me deeply again. so I couldn't approach any closer than this.
サトコ、俺にもなんでこうなったかでもこれだけは言える。リカちゃんを殺したのはそれだけは絶対に。
いい加減なこと言わないでほしいですわ。自分の記憶にも自信が持てない人が何を言ったってどう信じればいいって言うんですの。
I tightened my hands into a fist. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy ever since I wandered into it, lost on the one night. This insane world where I was at the festival when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive, where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Rena started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too, and Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price of killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing. At least I wanted to. So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the days Satoko and I enjoyed in peace went so wrong.
サトコ、信じてくれ。俺は人殺しじゃない。
では、そのナタは何なんですの？納得のいく説明はできまして。
このナタが怖いのか。じゃあ捨てるよ。それなら安心だろう。
Satoko didn't nod, but she seemed to be in agreement with the proposition. I constantly took the hatchet out of my belt and dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below.
捨てたぞ。これで話を聞いてくれるな。
武器を捨てたぐらいで気を許すと思いまして。圭一さんほどの方なら私を素手で絞め殺すなんて簡単でしょうに。
Like hell I would ever want to kill Satoko. You
じゃあ
idiot.
どうしたらいい？両手を頭の上で組んだらいいか。
そうですわね。両手を頭の上で組んで後ろを向いてくださいます。
It was a cunning plan, much like ones she used during club activities. Putting my hand on my head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack Satoko very easily. I immediately acquiesced to her request since it would make her feel better.
これでいいか？俺の話を聞いてくれ。
Satoko stood up, then carefully approached me from behind. And then she actually came right up behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad and I wasn't allowed to turn
圭
around.
一さんが悪くないのはなんとなく薄い。多分あなたは何か悪いものに乗り移られただけなんですの。さっきまでは圭一さんが殺人鬼なんだと思ってたけど、あなたの目を見ていたら。
I could hear Satoko. I could hear that Satoko was still crying. Her voice was gentle just the same.
圭一さんが人殺しなんかするわけがない。圭一さんの体を何か悪いものが乗っ取って悪事に駆り立てただけ。
Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell.
思えばひょっとするとあの人たちも圭一さんと同じものに乗り移られていたのかもしれない。あの時は殺されるとしか思わなかったから、そこまでは考えが及ばなかったけど、今ならわかる。あれは乗り移った何か悪いものの仕業だった。
サトコ、何の話だ？
It was less like she was talking to me, and more like she was trying to talk to herself. Like she was confessing at my
わ
back.
かってるんですの。身に覚えがないわけじゃないんですのよ。
Satoko's voice started to become mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart, but I didn't know what Satoko was talking
西
about.
部殿の屋根によじ登ったことがありますの。
I climbed to the...
何年も前のことですわ。
Whoa, wait, what? Once when Satsuko was playing hide and seek in the shrine grounds, she climbed onto the roof of the storehouse for a ritual implement which everyone said not to go near, and hid. Then Satsuko saw that she could get in through the window meant for ventilation. For Satsuko, the word curse was simply scary, but she was more curious about what was inside that unknown storehouse. She removed the grating on the window, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, but after descending, she realized just how high up she had been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window. And to her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside, and it was made to not open from within. She would have to go back through the ventilation window she'd come in from, but the window was high on the wall and there was no way she would be able to climb back up. Satsuko desperately tried not to cry and racked her brain thinking of a way to get up there. There was a lot of bird cage-looking things hanging by a chain from the ceiling. She took the hanging chain and shrugged them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb to the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Satsuko could hear the cling and clang of everything cracking under her weight. And then, just as her hands reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to stick the chain on the wall flew off, and the chain all began to pull loudly, furiously every which way. Spurring on by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke, and then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Under it, an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of the arms, then trapped some other implement beneath it. It didn't take very long for her to grow scared of what she had done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few other children heard it and gathered around, and of course Rika was one of them. Then Rika's father, the shrine priest, with an angry look ran over, and then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika, so he scolded her, said that this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. Saying that this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. Oh, so they found Satsuko, but they still blamed Rika. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something and struck her with it several times. Rika's words at the time, "It wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." What a pitiful voice. I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so, to save my best friend from a false accusation, without being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange.
わかってるんですの。これは、お社様のたたりだって。あの時、細具伝を怪我して、親友を見捨てた私への天罰だって。
お社様のたたり。
父も母も、濁流に消えた。意地悪だったおばも死んだけど、誰よりも私を可愛がってくれたニーニーも。そして、 圭一さんが転校してきて、やっと楽しい毎日が戻ってきたと思ったのに、今度は圭一さんが取り憑かれて、しかも殺されて。聞いたの私。お社様は、本当にたたりをなすときは、本人をすぐに殺さないんだ。親しい人から順に殺して、みんな殺してから、最後に殺すんだって。だから、圭一さんもたたりにやられて、きっと、今度はレナさんやミオンさんがたたられてしまうんですわ。そして、殺したり、殺されたり。もういいや。
落ち着けよ、サトコ。たたりなんかない。誰もお前をいじめたりなんかしないって。
When I turned around, I was thrust away with an amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. And I'd been pushed, not onto the bridge, but to the side. Towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. Ah! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it certainly wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus and I saw Satoko. And I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger meant only for those who needed to die. Whoa! Okay, so she thinks Keiichi is currently being possessed by Yashiro. So she's like, I want to kill Yashiro. As she screamed, she jerked the bridge into and fro. She didn't have to do that. I was going to fall anyway.
Satoko, これだけは聞いてくれ。
I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell Satoko's 俺
agitation.
の
したことは確かに褒められるものじゃない。いや、いけないことだったかもしれない。だけど、お前に幸せになってほしくって、それだけは信じてくれ。
こいつ、最後の最後で、圭一さんのふりを。
Satoko didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say, and for that to happen at the very end like this was
お
tragic.
前に褒められたくてやったわけじゃなかった。お前に幸せになってさえもらえればよかった。俺たちはダメなんだ。お前が笑っていないとダメなんだ。だから俺が消えたら、俺が死ぬことで新しい生活を迎えたなら、きっと笑ってくれ。それだけ約束してくれないか。
喋るな。圭一さんの口調で喋るな。もちろん。落ちてしまえ。
And those were the last words ever said to those were the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What earth was I? What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Hinamizawa? Even after all this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy. This world I accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all that crazy, where I never doubted all that crazy times we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. The fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this, with Satoko pushing me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No, I probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. On the night of Otanagashi. I'm sure that in the world I belong to, I had vanished that night and everyone was worried. It was laughable that I had taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen and they would have good times without me, waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Satoko's smile and my duty as her nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying toothy smile of yours. We wanted to see it one more time. Ooh, is that thud like Keiichi hitting the water? Well, I guess the rocks. My pain wasn't gentle and merciful. It was sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. The little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people whenever I wanted. If you'll still allow it, I wish for one last thing. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa, so that no one ever again had to find themselves lost here again. Ooh, that was a good end of a chapter. The silence in that last moment was really palpable. Research notes. Only one little extra tip. All right, let's check that one out. Demon. Witness the final showdown. Okay, I guess that was it. Is there any more notes? This is the last note. Yeah. Oh well, I think it does. All right, let's check out this research note. Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what character to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is hard, partly because depending on the time period, he has been called with various titles, with subtle changes to his name, and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agree on is that the 4 syllables O, Ya, Shi, and Ro are always used. There is a theory stating the shrine, or Yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama's itself became an object of worship. And the people began calling it Oyashiro-sama, or Lord Honorable Shrine, but this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Yashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. And in the legends, the Furude family passed down if for 8 generations in a row, the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. What? Wait, what? And in legend, the Furude family passed down if for 8 generations in a row, the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro. Okay, that's just worded weirdly. Basically, 8 generations down, you'll be born with one girl, and that girl will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. If we go by this legend, the characters used for Oyashiro-sama's name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. Honorable 8 generation. These characters' assignments are simply something I've thought up. There's no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment, or something along those lines. And we must not forget, they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folks in the village. The rumor says she is the 8th generation and Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least, I can confirm that for the past 2 generations, the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demon who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who would only cry, scream, and run for their lives. What would that look like? Just imagine it is enough to make my heart pound in excitement. Whose notes are these, I wonder? It says research. Oh, is it? It's got to be Takano. These have got to be Takano's notes. What did these research notes say? What did this one say? Hojo family. Okay, these are... I feel like these... Yeah. These feel like something Takano would research. This feels like something because she's so aware of like, oh, this family member died, then this family, then this is what means. Like, I got a feeling like these are Takano's notes. It just fits everything that she does. All right, let me save that. All right, hold on. Let me just press continue. Let's see. Is it another blank screen? Oh, wait, hold on. Is there something kind of extra? It's a blank screen. Yo, all of these chapters are just blank screens. Like the first thing, it's just a blank screen. Just funny. It makes this very like unappealing, I guess, uninteresting, because they're all just blank screen. All right. So did Keiichi survive? Okay. Well, we'll find out next time. Okay, that was a pretty good length for the chapter. That was pretty good. Yeah, that was a. I think that might have been the end. I think this is like the prologue, like of like what happened. So I guess we'll do the prologue, and we'll do the gosh, stretching, and we'll do the what's it called, the like after party thing where they like talk about what's gonna happen next. We'll probably do both of those next time because from what I remember, the prologues are usually not that long, so we'll see what happens there. But I'm honestly surprised that that was the ending of this part, because I feel like these like what's it called? I feel like these final chapters really feel like they ramp up, like they build up to like a final confrontation of sorts, you know. Like Keiichi running from those weird guys. I remember like in the first part there was like these group of guys who were like chasing him, and then they were running from Mion and Rena, and then they were gonna give him the syringe and shit. It felt like a ramp up, you know, of like shit just starts happening. And the second game, it was like, well, it wasn't necessarily like a ramp up like that, like Keiichi being paranoid day by day. It was like Keiichi and Rena, they decided to confront Mion at her house, and it felt like the set piece was her house. So it felt like a finale type of thing. This one kind of just ended. Like, I did not think, like, the beginning of this chapter, it kind of didn't feel like it was ramping up for, like, I thought he was going to find maybe the uncle and be like, why are you alive? And freak out. Or maybe we'll learn something new about what was happening with Satoko. But it kind of went in very strange way. Like, it like the beginning of the chapter did not feel like it would naturally progress to where it eventually did. But I didn't mind necessarily. I do like that final confrontation. In some ways, as a like selfishly, I do feel like the sense of, I guess, slight comfort at the idea that Satoko did not think Keiichi was the one who's evil, and it's Oyashiro-sama who's like cursing everyone. Like when she said, "Why did you take them away from me?" She listed Keiichi among the people that she feels like were taken away from her. So I guess as like a selfish observer, and maybe in Keiichi's mind as well, I'm glad she doesn't view Keiichi in just a completely negative light, because, you know, like obviously like feeling that he killed Rika, even though he didn't, because unless it's really just a truly unreliable narrator and we don't know what happened, I guess from what we know so far, he didn't kill her. So seeing that, and if that's how it ended with her thinking he killed her, that would have been really sad. That would have been really bad. It was already really sad. That chapter, like confrontation and everything that was happening was really sad. But yeah, that was a good chapter, very good chapter. I still think my favorite is the chapter, I forgot which chapter it was, but the one where it was Satoko freaking out in the classroom. To me, I don't think any visual novel has ever made me so nervous and uncomfortable as that moment right there. That, no, regardless on how good or bad the rest of the series is, which I'm sure it's going to be good. You know, I'm sure it's going to be good. But regardless on how much I personally love it or not, this series will always have that. I think it'll always have that part right there, where I genuinely don't think I'll ever forget that part. It was insanely good, insanely well written, insanely well presented. The voice acting was good. All of it was perfect. So yeah, enough babbling. Appreciate anyone who checked this out. Hopefully you'll come back next time. Maybe Friday, Saturday, or probably do my usual Monday and Tuesday. That's when I usually stream, of course. So yeah, thank you for watching and take care. See ya.